Hello again, everyone. Thanks so much for coming back and joining me. It's so nice to be back in a studio where it's not windy. I kind of felt like I was doing hurricane duty or something this morning from the parking lot of the courthouse. I kind of feel like by the time I got home, everyone and their mother had already covered this. So you guys tell me if you want to hear the press conference. Did you want to see the press conference? I do want to show you because you may have already seen it. I mean, everyone and their mother has already broadcast it. So if you have questions, think about if you have questions. But I just want to show you something that somebody sent me a while ago that I thought was really funny. It was a t-shirt and it was spotted and given to me by an anonymous source. But it was spotted in Breezy Point. If you know, you know. Breezy. Ready? Can you see that? It's a t-shirt. It says, "The pizza is amazing, but make sure you finish the crust." It's got a picture of Heuermann's face on it. I don't know where you can buy that t-shirt, but I think it's pretty dope. Isn't that hilarious? TJ Bits likes it. Isn't that funny? If you're watching, you know who you are who sent it to me. I'm not going to out you, but this is an actual shirt worn by an actual guy in Breezy Point. I mean, who doesn't love Breezy Point? I spent my summers at Breezy Point as a kid, and anybody who knows about Breezy Point knows about Breezy Point. It's a place in Queens where it was bungalows back in the day, and there were no cars allowed, and there were just walkways, and every bungalow had an Irish or Italian family with 10 kids in it, and we were all running free and hanging out, and you could go down to the ocean. And I was a little kid and I spent a lot of time there, and it was really fun. But here's his t-shirt. Hilarious. Sorry, I can't tell you where to get it, but I did think it was really, really funny. And now back to me. So, did you guys watch me this morning, or should I start from the beginning? I was in court this morning for Rex Heuermann's conference in Suffolk County Criminal Court. And yeah, that shirt is hilarious. It was a court conference that happened this morning, a little before 10 a.m. And it lasted about maybe 10 minutes. And during the conference, I'll just do a quick little review. During that conference, Rex Heuermann came in. He had a fresh haircut. If any of you looked up the pictures that I told you that Newsday was the pool photographer. There is only one still photographer allowed in the courtroom per the judge's order, and that is the Newsday pool photographer. I mean, the Newsday pool photographer. I'm thinking of pool cameras and pool photographers, and I'm not a morning person, and I got up early and I went to Riverhead, and it's a whole thing. So there's one photographer allowed in the courtroom. He's only allowed to take still photos. He is from Newsday, and he must share his photos with the rest of the media outlets who want them. At the beginning of the court hearing, the judge addressed some motions that were filed by Netflix and some other media outlets asking for him to amend his order that there was to be no video in the courtroom and to please let the video cameras in. So rest assured, they are probably making a documentary at Netflix as we speak. Oh, they should call me. Just saying. And judge denied it. He said, nope, no cameras in the courtroom, only one still photographer and the court sketch artist. Her name is Jane Rosenberg. She was not there today, so there will be no sketches from today. But there will be a Netflix documentary, and there will be no video in the courtroom for now. He said that order will stay in place until such further order as he may deem necessary. The next matter that was addressed in the courtroom, because they did have a little conference in chambers before they came out, and the judge had a full calendar after this case. He also had a jury trial, and I heard he was bringing the jury in at 10:30. So he wanted to get this conference out of the way with Heuermann so that everyone who was in the courtroom would then leave. He could handle a couple of other matters that he had, I think a couple of arraignments. In fact, one guy came in who was showing up for his court date, and he was looking around at everyone in the gallery, and he was just like freaking out, like, what are these people here for? I'm gonna have to get up in front of the judge in front of all these people. But no, we all left. So luckily he stayed in the hall and he was able to come back and address whatever his matter was. So the attorneys and the defendant were in chambers for a little while before they came out. And when they came out and they were on the record, they told us what they discussed in chambers. And what they had discussed was that they were going to be, the prosecution was going to be turning over discovery to the defense on a rolling basis. And while they were in chambers, they turned over another 2 terabytes of discovery to the defense. You may recall from the last time I was in court, which I think was August 1st, because I was looking at my notes and it's hard to believe that Heuermann was arrested on July 13th. It hasn't even been 90 days, and I've already been in court twice to see him. So this was the 3rd time that he's been in court, because I think the first time he was in court was for his initial appearance, was the day after his arrest, and nobody knew about it really. So now that we're onto it, I'll be there every time for you. So they turned over another 2 terabytes of discovery, consisting of 5,000 pages of discovery, including grand jury exhibits, the scene logs, the search warrants, 10,000 photographs, the video surveillance of the walkthroughs that they did at Heuermann's home, his office, and his storage units. You remember there were 2 storage units that were, Scott, I will get to that question. I'm going to start for you. I will. There were 2 storage units that they found that were registered to Heuermann, both in Amityville, Long Island, which is not too far from where Heuermann lives in Massapequa Park. And you may recall, or maybe you don't recall, so I'm going to tell you again, that both of those storage units were searched, and that at one of the storage units, we saw the Suffolk County Medical Examiner truck. So we still don't know what they found, if anything. But I don't know if they'd have the medical examiner come out unless they found something that the medical examiner could either identify, catalog, collect. Let me know your thoughts on that. I know some of my law enforcement friends are in the chat. Peter Pranzo, Scott, retired Irish detective. Let me know if you think that they'd have the medical examiner come out to the scene just in case, or if you think that they actually did find something there. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. So in addition to the video surveillance of the walkthroughs of the home, the storage unit, his office, and the vehicle that they seized, which remember was still in possession of his brother in South Carolina, the same green first-generation Chevy Avalanche that perhaps Amber Costello was last seen getting into immediately prior to her going missing. They did seize that, and his brother was still in possession of that vehicle, which I found to be just insane, considering that the Gilgo 4 bodies were found in 2010, and now it's 2023. The first of the Gilgo 4 to go missing was Maureen Brainerd Barnes, who went missing in, I believe, June of 2007. And he's not been indicted for that crime yet, but the DA did say that they're working on it. He's been saying that for a while. Well, it feels like it's been a while, right? But like we said, it's only been 90 days since his arrest. So we're waiting for that indictment to come down. So assuming, well, we know that she went missing in 2007, the fact that that green Chevy Avalanche, if it was in fact used in the commission of these crimes, because innocent until proven guilty, despite the fact that there's some hairs that may show that he at least had contact with at least 3 of these women, that they still have this vehicle. And it wasn't sold, trashed, junked, salvaged. I mean, I don't know. Still in the family. So in addition to all of the things that I already mentioned, they also turned over some DNA profiles, the mitochondrial profile of the pizza crust and the buccal swab, which they say is a match. And then they kind of walk back the hair that was found. You remember that one of Heuermann's, what they're saying is Heuermann's hairs was found on one of the victims. And his wife's hair, or hair similar that could be his wife's, was found on all three of the victims that he has been indicted for. So they are now saying that it is a sample. We're gonna go back and look at the press conference to see exactly what they have to say about that. They also turned over the search warrants, and I said 10,000 photographs. I also told you that he had a fresh haircut, and I was wondering if they had a barber in the jail. And I think, Scott, you said that they do have a barber in jail, which I found to be interesting. I guess I never really thought about it, but if you've seen the photos of him from today, he did have a fresh haircut. And since I looked at the back of his head most of the time, I could see, because it was, a line right across, like it had just been freshly cut. Because last time I saw him in court, his hair was pretty shaggy. And he did turn around and he looked right at me and he smiled. And it was freaky. So that was kind of weird. But all in a day's work, guys, right? All in a day's work. So then I went outside and I tried to get some video of the press conference, and I did go live with you, whoever was there, with the press conference portion of his defense attorney, Michael Brown. The audio was not great because although I did have an external microphone with my iPhone and I had it up on a gimbal and I was, as close as I could get, the microphones that you see in front of him were not my microphones. Those were the microphones of the actual press. So if you want to see better footage of that, you can go back and look for it later. I did the best I could. I'll summarize for you what he said. But when I say, just so that we're clear for future, when I'm saying on a live stream, like, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear it? That's really for the live stream viewers. So when I go back and I read the comments later and all the replay viewers are saying, I can't hear it. I can't hear it. I can't hear it. It's kind of like, yeah, we know. And if I go back and read like one more, there's like 3,000 comments. I started deleting them because I'm like, I put a disclaimer at the top, like, yes, I know you can't hear it. Although when I listened to it on my way home in the car and I turned the volume up all the way, I could hear it. I understand like some of you could not, even if you turned the volume up all the way. Look, live TV, I did the best I could. Maybe next time I just won't do it because it seemed to annoy a lot of people. But like I say, I am not a cupcake. I cannot make everyone happy. I'm not a cupcake. I'm a one-woman show. And guess what? This is like a volunteer position, by the way. So I'm doing the best I can. And I say come for me in the comments, and I mean it, come for me in the comments, because I love respectful debate. But when it gets like to be like a little bit, like I can't, it's like, all right, enough. I don't even have my light on today because the light is different in the studio during the day. And somebody told me that I was exacerbating their epilepsy. Like, just like, I can't win. It's not funny. I'm sorry. I know epilepsy is a very serious thing, but I just can't. Sometimes I just can't win. And then it just makes me just be like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? What am I doing? I'm here for you. Here for you guys. If you like the cupcake, that's great. I don't have a producer. It's just me. It's just me, you guys. Just me. All right. So let's look at until I get my own show somewhere. Well, this really is my own show. But every Alex Levy needs a chip. I don't have a chip. And if you understand where that reference is from, put it in the chat. And whoever gets that reference first gets a little shout out from me. Every Alex Levy needs a chip. Hudson, wait, hold on. I gotta go back and find that. Sit in the dark and disguise your voice. They'll complain about that too. I know, isn't it crazy? Isn't it just so crazy? Oh, thank you, Kim, for thanking me. It's, sometimes it's thankless, but most of the times it's very thankful because you guys are really loving it. Most of the time. Most of them, I can get to you. You could watch 3,000. You could get 3,000 like comments that are like the nicest, sweetest things. And that's always like the one or two that just get under your skin. And you're like, really? Really? So that person who told me that my empathy was fake and I was crying fake tears for the Ruby Frankie children. And I kind of went nuts and I pinned it to the top and like 100 of you came out and supported me. So thank you for that. All right. Let's see. Did anybody get the reference about Alex Levy and Chip? I see no one. No. Yes, Susan. I'm in mourning. No, it's because when I'm in my studio during the day, I have shutters here with windows and the light comes in. And because this camera, this external webcam that I have on right now is autofocus, it makes that light look a little bit too bright. And somebody said I was exacerbating their epilepsy. So I felt bad. And so right now it's off. But yeah, you know what? We're going to go with that. So all you Oregon fans can get there in the chat and you can trash talk it. I lost $20 to my brother. All right, still nobody knows who Alex Levy and Chip are. Okay. I guess you guys are watching YouTube all day long and nobody's watching Apple TV. All right. Okay. So after the court hearing and my eye contact with a suspected serial killer, I'm going to say, because, innocent until proven guilty and all. I came outside and I did get the press conference with my own iPhone of DA Ray Tierney. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to play it for you. I did download it. I uploaded it into iMovie. I pumped up the volume. I reduced the background noise. Anybody who's in here who's a videographer is going to be so proud of me that I did all this for you guys. So let me play it for you now and see if you can hear it. And again, if you can't hear it, replay viewers, please refrain from saying you can't hear it. But if you're live in the chat right now and you can hear it, let me know. Because sometimes these video files...
Can you talk about
the abandonment sample in the pizza box?
When you just hear about the swab to the hair, when are we going to hear about the swab to the hair that was found on this woman? That was the other thing that you guys said you needed the swab for, was to run that analysis.
Well, I think it's going to be the same thing because the pizza box and the Google swab are the same. It's the same profile.
Can you go over exactly what was handed over today, please?
It's over, I think, 5,000 pages of material. So primarily grand jury material, grand jury reports, grand jury exhibits, that sort of stuff.
And the exhibits included video walkthroughs, footage from the car, the memo books. Can you go through that, the storage unit?
So, it's just a voluminous amount of stuff. And we're providing it on a rolling basis, so it's a continuing process.
Is this the first time he spoke in court today?
Tierney, just to clarify, you have the Google swab. It matches the pizza crust. Does it match the hair that's on Megan Waterman's body from the Google swab?
So that analysis doesn't change anything that's in our mail.
Can you confirm that in the past it matched?
You're using the term match. It's consistent.
Okay.
And then there's a ratio, a probability that's provided. So
see?
That would just confirm all.
You're saying that it's matched. We're saying there's a probability.
Does the buccal swab increase the ratio, increase the probability?
No.
Does the buccal swab increase the probability? He said no.
So in all cases, really, you have a protective order with a number of conditions in the protective order. Really, the most important one is that the material that is provided is not provided to the media. So there are terms and conditions in all protective orders, and that you go through a series of just working with the court, working with defense counsel to hammer out language that works for everybody. So sometimes you have to make slight modifications, and that's what we did in this case. And in this specific case, there was a watermark that the defense found on the building, so they asked, and we complied and removed the watermark.
the mention of the amount of time he's got to, or the amount of time he's able to review these discoveries, 2 to 3 hours. Based on that, as long as that being how long he can sit and do this on a daily basis, how long do you think it's going to take him to get through all the discoveries?
He says it's up to 4 hours, and
he can sit for 2 or 3.
and so again, that's something that the defense does, but the it's given to the material is given to his counsel, and then his counsel chooses how they review it, who they review it with, and the methodology behind it. So we just leave that.
Are you feeling even stronger about the case now that the DNA has come back? I mean, I think this is sort of is this not a monumental development, or did you know this was
Not at all.
Okay.
It's not monumental. All he said is that the DNA from the pizza crust
when you look at
matches
a
the
case,
DNA from his cheek.
There are things that we as a prosecution team expect, and the way the case is unfolding, is consistent with our expectations. That's good.
If you mentioned the watermark that you put on some of the evidence, were you worried that there would be leaks? There haven't been any apparently to see that, but were you worried about that? It sounds like
Well, I mean, I think you're always worried about leaks. You're always worrying about maintaining grand jury secrecy, grand jury privilege, privacy rights of individuals. So what you do is you do a balancing act, between everyone, between the prosecution team, between the defense team, between the court and their team. So this is something that you worry about in general, but I had no specific worries in this
do you
instance.
have any sense when this trial can start?
There's a lot of material that we have to provide to the defense. We appreciate the cooperation of not only the defense but the court, because you can't just you have to provide the material in such a way that's coherent so they can follow it along. It helps them, but it also helps us, so we are able to memorialize and show that every single piece of paper and document in this case has been provided to the defense, because that's certainly important not only for the trial but for an appellate record as well. So it's not something, you don't take a 13-year investigation and turn it over in a day or two. So we certainly appreciate the cooperation that we're receiving from the court and the defense.
Are you any closer to additional charges against him?
We're still investigating. Our investigation is continuing, and when we're prepared to announce charges, if that day comes, we'll do it in court.
what was the investigation?
Sorry?
What will happen on November 15th?
Just basically what you see here, unless they're
He's like, don't come back, it's boring.
facts that come to bear, but this is the court case. Especially a complex case like this, it's just a lot of clerical type of discovery that needs to be provided to the parties, to the court.
What's going on with his guns?
investigation-
His guns were transferred to Nassau. Can you explain
Well,
what's going on?
the guns that's a subject of a separate motion. I believe that's being heard October 2nd. So we'll have more clarity on that. We're seeking to have those guns returned to Nassau.
Why is it
October
necessary
2nd
to
for the
have
guns.
a conference in private instead of in front of a public courtroom?
I think it's just it's up to the council, really, and the court, primarily most of all. And basically, what happens is there's discussions, and those discussions are then placed on the record.
Where does the
Tierney, have you moved
investigation-
on to the other unsolved murders on Ocean Parkway and whether genetic material from Heuermann may be
Well,
tied
we've
to
been
them?
we said that initially our investigation centered around the Gilgo Fort. That we were prepared to bring charges with regard to 3 out of the 4 Gilgo Fort victims. We're working on the 4th Gilgo victim, and now we've expanded our investigation to include other bodies that were recovered in that area. We'll speak about that when and if we're prepared to bring charges.
Is there DNA evidence on any of those other
There's
bodies?
always potentially DNA evidence in any case. You just have to see whether or not you can take DNA or genetic material and compare it to a subject. So
Is
So
there
you're
a reason?
So you're investigating all the bodies on Gilgo as being killed by the same person?
We're investigating other instances where individuals were.
In terms of the fourth victim that has not been charged yet, what is the reason behind the delay in time or the time lapse between the three and this last one?
So as we said right from the very beginning, when we started the grand jury investigation, there was a tension between the acquisition of evidence as well as maintaining grand jury secrecy as well as public safety. At a certain time in January, that balance shifted. We moved on to the three cases that we had completed, and we're continuing with the investigation of the Maureen Brainerd Barnes murder. And that investigation is continuing, so it takes time. I know that when you watch a show like CSI, everything gets done in an hour, but that's just not realistic.
I love how he references CSI.
Can you just explain the significance of the match between his DNA that you took after he was arrested?
So, there was the surveillance team had observed the pizza box and were confident that was his DNA, that the DNA profile would be consistent with the defendant because he left that material inside the box. And so the buccal swab just erases all doubt.
And any
Buckle swab, by the way.
Yeah, so we work with all of our partners on all of our cases, and we're ready, willing, and able to share whatever information we have. Obviously, we've amassed a lot of information with regard to this particular subject, and we're sharing that with anyone who wants with regard to their investigations. But just as I wouldn't want those authorities to be commenting on my investigation, I'm not going to comment on theirs. I'll leave that to them.
And any gauge on how long this discovery process is going to last? Are we still looking at months ahead with how much there is?
I mean, it's certainly going to be a lengthy process, and we'll continue to work with the court and the defense to streamline it as much as possible. But it will take months, that's for sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the presser of Tierney. If you could please refrain from breaking news in the chat. Just I can't cover what's breaking right now and cover what I'm trying to cover right now. So if there is breaking news, feel free to leave here and go watch it if that's what you want to do, but it's distracting to everybody else who's trying to watch what we are trying to focus on right now. Please. Thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions with regard to what Tierney had to say at his portion of the press conference? And then I found a better version of what Michael Brown said, who is the defense attorney for Heuermann, so we can watch something that had better audio than what I had. I think Scott had a question. Before I forget, why would the judge ask Heuermann about the time he actually spent reviewing the paperwork? So here's what happened. So the judge did ask, so Heuermann did get to speak in court today. I forgot to say that again because I said that this morning, but the judge asked Heuermann directly. He said, are you being given time in jail to review all the documents and discovery materials that your attorney is giving you? And he said, yes. And he said, how much time are they giving you? And he said, up to 4 hours a day. And the judge said, well, how much time are you using on average to review those documents? And he said, between 2 and 3 hours a day. So the reason that he would ask him that question is because it is his constitutional right to participate in his defense. And so I think the judge wanted to make sure that he was being given time, because the judge did make an order to give him that time. The defense made the application for a court order to order the jail or the warden to allow Heuermann up to 4 hours a day to review documents provided by his attorney. And he did address that, and it is being done. Hudson, somebody asked about the DNA. In addition to his wife's hair, male hair was recovered from the burlap used to wrap Waterman's body. Yes, so there was one of his hairs found on Megan Waterman, and then 3 of his wife's hairs, correct, on the other 3 victims. If I'm mixing it up with another case, let me know, but I'm pretty sure. Yes, they had 8 terabytes, Terry, in the first handover, which was at the last court conference that I attended on August 1st. And then today they handed over another 2 terabytes, but you're going to see what was contained on those first 8 terabytes because Michael Brown's going to tell us. So let's see. Wendy, I see you're in your pajamas. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you're feeling better. A lot of people are sick in the chat. Thank you to my moderators who work tirelessly to keep the chat classy. I love you guys. You're so great. Miss Dawn Marie, Team Brittany, Scott, Rochella, and Peter Pranzo. I don't know. And Team Brittany are here today. If I see anybody else, I will certainly shout them out as well. Let's see. All right. So let's take a look at the portion of the found a YouTube video. Let's get rid of this. Bye. Let's get rid of this, and we'll look at Michael Brown. And I think I have it right at the part where he starts. Oh, they said their footage is raw and unfiltered too, so I don't feel so bad. All right, let me know you can hear it.
Is pretty significant. So that's what they have. So that's all I can tell you. And I have not, and that's assuming a lot of different things, right? Because DNA can be transferred. DNA can be transferred from me going up to the cameraman and shaking his hand, and I would say he would get my hair, but I have no hair, but he would get my DNA, and then he goes to a second person, and now it's transferred. So all things, I'm just putting that out there, but going back to inclusive versus exclusive, it's still a significant amount of people that could be the source of this hair. But anyway, any other questions?
Mr. Brown, you said something about the protective order to the judge. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so initially there was a protective order that we agreed to, which had a couple of things in it that were troubling to us. Number one is there's a watermark across every single piece of evidence, every photograph. It's troubling because we want to obviously print out some of these items and utilize it to our benefit at trial. In addition, the photographs that they provided were in a PDF fashion. So PDF is much less clear than a digital photograph. So we wanted everything digital because when you enlarge things digitally, you can see much more detail. That's going to be important for us. So those are two of the things that we're now getting. I don't know if there's any other significant portions of the protective order that were amended, but those were two significant parts. Yes, ma'am.
Can you talk about your client was asked if he was taking advantage of his right to review material? What is he doing? Is he reviewing everything that you get?
He is. So what happened was we went to the court, we went to Justice Mazie, and we asked for a court order. We wanted a court order because we wanted to enable him the opportunity to review all the discovery while he's in custody. Justice Mazie signed that, and the sheriff is now abiding by that order, and he's permitting my client to review the discovery as it trickles in. We're providing it to him, and he's reviewing the discovery.
And how is his mood and demeanor now?
Well,
listen to this.
He's somebody who has from the beginning has said he's not guilty, so he's now incarcerated. He's a fellow who working, has never been arrested, has a wife and children, is a productive member of society. And obviously the district attorney, the government is making these allegations and they're horrific. But if he's not guilty of this, well, now he has to sit in custody, be away from his family, be away from his wife and kids, not work, not produce for his family and support them, and sit in a jail cell until this case can come to fruition. So he's doing the best he can. The sheriff made a comment about how he's not making any emotions, right? And I know the press ran with that and said, oh, look, he's not showing emotions. Well, I have to tell you that when I first started on this case, I made it a point to tell him, just get through this, Rex. Get through this. Get to the point where we can go to trial. And don't show emotion. Don't let anything upset you. Just be stoic. And that's what he's done. And then we saw a comment, unfortunately. And I have a lot of respect for Sheriff Toulon, but the sheriff made a comment about he's not showing emotion. And from that, I can tell you there's something wrong with him. Well, that's just not the case. That's just sensationalism. And that's just things that, unfortunately, poison the jury pool. That's not true. So the answer to your question is he's doing the best he can at this point. They do communicate, yes.
How big does it?
Yes, sir.
What's your experience working with the data? Was it the table of contents? Was it you working with the organized?
In terms, which data are you referring to?
This is 8 terabytes to start with that.
The 8 terabytes. So initially
Okay,
we
let's
got
not-
4 external hard drives. 99% of those 4 external hard drives was what's called poll cameras. What the DA's office did is they set, in the police department, I should say, they had poll cameras focused on my client's house from a year and a half prior up until the date of the arrest. What that shows, and this defies common sense that he is actually the murderer, what the poll cameras show
I don't know about
is
that.
a guy who gets up in the morning, he goes to work, he comes home, he spends time with his wife and children. You see him chopping wood, you see him hanging out on his porch. That's what you see. And that is 99% of what we got from the beginning.
Yeah, so you said you've got very little actual evidence. I mean, can you expand on that?
So we just talked about those 4 external hard drives. I have ME reports, which are from the scene itself.
Emmy reports.
They
like
don't
Emmy
attribute
awards.
in any way my
Closed
client to the
captions.
commission of these acts. The poll cameras basically defy their suggestion that this is this monster of a person. When he was arrested, there was a video in the actual police vehicle. My client, unless he's a tremendous actor, he was completely shocked, had no idea why he was being taken into custody. And there's this interaction. So they don't tell you, the government doesn't tell you about these things, but these are things we're going to bring out during the course of the trial.
You said 99% of what you reviewed is poll cameras.
What I had said was in the first 4 external hard drives, I'm going to say that there's about 99% of that was the poll camera video. Correct.
So you've been given very little indication of what their actual case is at this point?
I think that you folks have received what I've received, which is the bail letter, which says there's a pizza crust, and then they talked about burner phones, and they talked about pinging in New York City. That's what I've seen in terms of
He had the
bail letter,
victims'
pinging in New
phones
York
too,
City. And
so
you folks
don't
know
forget
how
about that part.
pinging works, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of people that are pinging off that cell
All right, I
site
gotta
at
just
any
stop
given
this for
time.
1 second because
That's all
we don't like to spread misinformation here. Not only was there pinging of his phone, but there was pinging of his phone with the burner phones that he was contacting these victims with, and he had 2 of their phones. And all 3 of those phones were always pinging at the same time at the same place. There was never a time where those 3 phones were pinging off of different towers. So let's not mischaracterize the evidence, shall we? Thank you. And let's go back to him. Oh, if I could figure out how to do that, that'd be great.
I've seen.
How
Well,
is
given
Rex-
that
how
and the
is
fact
Rex
that he's
doing
been
right
able
now?
to
How
look
is
at,
Rex doing right
Go
now?
ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
given that and the fact that he's got 2 to 3 hours at a clip sitting there going through this evidence with you, how come we're being told by the DA that it's going to be months and months and months before we get to trial? Does he want to be in jail for months and months?
You're asking me.
Does he want to be in jail for months and months and months?
I'm still waiting for. So let's talk about things like this investigation was going on for 10 to 12 years. There were numerous other suspects.
Debatable.
And you folks have reported this. There's numerous other suspects that they looked at. I want to see those records. I want to see those notes. I want to see why the police accused other people, were focusing on other people, and what it is about those individuals that caused them to discount those other individuals. I haven't seen any of that. I also want to see, obviously, the crime lab. I want to see the testing that was done. I want to make sure it was done in the right manner and fashion. None of that I have seen. Going back to your question, does Rex want to stay in custody? Of course not. Of course not. But he can't bail out, and we are not going to go to trial until we get all the discovery, and the district attorney under the law is required to provide us with all of the discovery.
Do you expect him to be charged in a 4th murder?
You'd have to ask Mr. Tierney about that. I have no idea. I have no idea.
And Rex is spending 2 to 3 hours a day going through this discovery himself. Is that something he wanted to do? Something that he asked you specifically if he could, be privy to the information?
Sure. I mean, he's the defendant. He's charged. He's an intelligent man. He's never been arrested. He wants to know what is it that they have that they're saying I'm involved in this. So as a defense attorney, we obviously want to share that with our client. If he was out of custody, he'd probably be coming to my office and we'd review that together. Because he's in custody, we made copies and we're affording him the opportunity so that he can at his leisure review these items and all the discovery and assist in his defense, because that's what it's all about.
You said most of the evidence was from the cameras. What about other evidence you've seen?
Well, those 4 external hard drives. So again, about 99% is these poll cameras. Then you have approximately 3,000 pages deal with the ME's report when they found the bodies on each of the 3 occasions. We had videos again of him being arrested and what they call the takedown, and him in the police vehicle. I think that's the extent of what I recall in the first set, in the first 4 external hard drives. The 5th external hard drive is voluminous. It's these phone records and computer searches, and we started to look at those.
And
but
those are the nails
it
in the
really
coffin.
doesn't make sense until we have the question and answers from the grand jury, because those are all grand jury exhibits. It's like having a car without gas. You're not going to get anywhere. So now today, the district attorney indicated that we have gotten the grand jury testimony. So now we can put 2 and 2 together and we can review this and make sense of what they have and go from there.
Okay, so that was kind of interesting. I find him to be, I know everyone's got their opinions about Michael Brown. I think he's a great attorney. I think he's doing his job. I think he's doing a very good job. He's also been appointed counsel. He's an 18B attorney, which is what we call assigned counsel in New York public defenders, because the legal aid in Suffolk County does not handle murder cases. So they assign private attorneys to handle murder cases in Suffolk County. And he's an excellent attorney, in my opinion. And Ray Tierney is going to be trying this case, apparently, for the prosecution. So it's going to be quite a match, I think. I think, he's doing the best with what he has. What he brought out, if you're not familiar with this case, may seem to you like, wow, they had these poll cameras set up for 18 months outside this guy's house, and they didn't see anything other than him going to work and coming home and being a good guy and sitting out on the front porch and, barbecuing or whatever they said. But remember, these bodies were found 13 years ago. 13 years ago. And, I would argue, okay, well, 99% of it was that, but you have to remember that they made the connection to Heuermann very, very quickly after this Gilgo task force was first put together in the beginning of 2021, which was right after Ray Tierney took office as Suffolk County DA. And that is also when Rodney Harrison came in as the police commissioner for Suffolk County. They started this task force, the Gilgo task force, and very, very quickly, within 7 weeks, they connected him to this case because a female state trooper, then they brought in everybody. We can go through all the history of this case, but I don't think we need to, because I think everybody who's here knows about Burke and how he, didn't let the FBI in, and how this has been a major show for 13 years. So, when they say they've been working on this for 13 years, I'm like, yeah, right. There was one detective assigned to this from 2010 to 2023 when they started this task force. So very, very quickly, within 7 weeks, this female state trooper got into the file. She found all the information that we already knew that we had, which was the description of Heuermann as being the last person to see Amber Costello alive, being described by Dave Schaller, her roommate, as a 6'3" to 6'4" ogre with bushy hair and big 1970s type glasses. And he drove a first generation green Chevy Avalanche. And within 7 weeks, she had him identified as a possible suspect. He is now telling us that that's when they set up the poll cameras outside of his house. So they've got 18 months of poll cam footage from outside of his house, which according to Michael Brown, his attorney, shows nothing more than him just being an average guy, going to work, coming home, hanging out with his family. It doesn't mean he didn't do these crimes, in my opinion. Innocent till proven guilty. What he failed to mention was all of the other evidence that we know about from the bail application, the cringy Google searches, which when I had that show, and I think after the live I did this morning, at the end of that live is the playlist to all the videos I've done on this case. I redacted those Google searches because I could never unsee them, and they are cringy, but you can find them if you want to. So all of the Google searches that he did while he was under surveillance by this task force, the initial cell phone records from all the way back in 2010, they were able to retrieve Heuermann's personal cell phone, the burner phones that were communicating with at least 2 or 3 of the victims that were also in his possession or registered to him, or they have video of him going back to put more minutes on a burner phone within those 18 months, not one of these burner phones, because obviously that was back in 2008, 9, 10. And he did come into possession of 2 of the 3 victims' phones. And you'll remember that he or someone made phone calls from Melissa Barthelemy's phone to Melissa Barthelemy's 15-year-old sister that were pretty graphic and horrific, taunting her, telling her what he did to her sister, and saying all kinds of horrible things. And he also, I think he made phone calls to somebody else. But in any event, all of the cell phone data that's included with the bail application showed that those 3 phones, the burner phone, his phone, and the victim's phones, were always in the same place at the same time. In fact, they could find no evidence that those phones were ever in different places at different times. So that is very interesting. So let me go back to, I saw some. Yes, you're right. The defense attorney does not have to prove anything. I'll go back to that. Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Do I have an opinion one way or another on Rex's wife asking for all the guns being returned? I mean, she can ask whatever she wants. But my point this morning was that they are in the middle of a divorce proceeding. And it could be argued that the guns are community property in New York, and there's been no division of marital assets yet. And that's one issue that I see. Another issue is that, have they ruled out that those guns are not evidence of this crime or any other crime? And she wants to sell the guns. So there's a couple of issues there, and I don't know how the court's going to resolve them unless Rex is saying it's okay with me if you give her the gun. I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out. I mean, listen, you can ask for whatever you want. It doesn't mean it's going to be granted, and it doesn't mean you'll have standing to have it granted. So that's a sticky situation, in my opinion. Mary Lynn, is it possible his wife was involved with this, or could she have known? We don't know. We have a lot of questions about that. It was said early on that she was out of the country during at least the time that 2 of the 3 went missing. That has since been walked back, and it has been said that they thought she was out of the country. So we don't know. The answer is we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. What we do know is that 3 of her hairs were found on 3 of the victims. But, it could be transfer evidence, like people are saying. So it's interesting. We don't know. Let me know what you think. I mean, I don't know what she knew or didn't know. I think that they had a relationship that might not have been that close. She may not have known what he was doing. Who knows how much he was around? Who knows, if they were, I can't speculate about their relationship. I just can't. But in my opinion, I don't know. I really don't have an opinion on that either way. Some people say, how could she not know? Some people say, of course she knew. It remains to be seen. Okay, so somebody was asking how much 10 terabytes is. And Molly says, think about an entire wall of VHS tapes. Oh, we're really dating ourselves now talking about VHS tapes full of video and 10 file cabinets full of documents. That might be about 10 terabytes. So it's a lot. All right, Molly, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm taking your word for it on that. That is a lot. But they did say in the 2 terabytes that they turned over today, there were 10,000 photographs and 5,000 pages at least. So that's a lot of material to go through. Scott, they will never, Mark is responding to Scott. They will never get over the hair found on the belt and he can't explain any of it. Guilty. Yeah, his hair was found on one of the belts that was used to wrap one of the bodies in the camouflage burlap. Yeah. So that's going to be hard to overcome. Missy Minx. Wait, they found the victim's phone in his possession. Wait, this is the first I'm hearing about this. Go back and read the bail application. I did go over that in one of my early videos. And it talks about they did not find the phones in his possession, but when they ran the cell phone data, like I just explained, all of those phones were in the same place, it seems, at the same time, and never in different places at different times, which I think is more interesting. So like I always say, when we go over these press conferences, it's not just about what they're saying, right? It's about what they're not saying. It's about what they don't say. It's about the words that they choose, because they choose their words very carefully most of the time. Most attorneys do, or try to anyway, or anyone who's giving a public statement tries to choose their words very, very carefully. So think about what they're not saying. I'm going back to the chat. So if anybody has any questions, I feel like we've looked at this twice today and we have covered it twice, although my hurricane footage from the parking lot this morning may not have been the best, but hey, look, I'm here for you guys. I wanted to bring it to you live and it was fun. It was fun. So on the first video I did this morning, because that audio was hard to hear, I did pin a note to the top of that says, if you can't hear this through your radio speaker or your headphones, just skip forward to this part and my commentary starts at that part. I think it's maybe like 13 minutes in or something, but it was pretty interesting because I had just come out of the courtroom where Rex Heuermann, suspected Long Island serial killer, actually turned around in the courtroom and made eye contact with me, and he actually smiled, and it was pretty freaky. Is Rex's attorney experienced in these cases? Yes, he's a very experienced attorney. And I think you can see that. I think you can see it. Look, he's gonna, and I know a lot of you that are not from New York are looking at this guy like, oh my God, Slick Willie. Like, what am I watching? An episode of The Sopranos or what? But like, we're used to that here. I think so. I don't think it's as it's not like nails on a chalkboard the way it might be to some of you, maybe in other parts of the world or other parts of the country. Somebody from around here back me up on that. I don't find him to be, he doesn't annoy me the way he may annoy somebody else. I think he's a fierce advocate. No, I did not smile at him. I was freaked out. I was just like, oh, what? What? And I said this earlier too, if you didn't see my earlier stream, that while I was sitting in the courtroom, I looked over and somebody on the other side was waving to me. And there was a female court officer next to me because I was on the aisle, and I looked at her and I was like, is he waving at her? No, he's waving at me. And I'm like, and he said, are you Melanie Little? Because, you're not allowed to really talk in court. We were waiting for the judge to come out. And I said, yeah. And I'm thinking, like, do I know you? And he like picks up his phone and he points to someone. He says, I love your show. Wow, thank you so much. So when I was outside with the media, I'm just going to tell the story again real quick because it was so cute. I was outside with the media with my little, setup and trying to get some video for you guys at the press conference. And his name is Roger, and he's a subscriber. And he came over to me in front of all these reporters who I know as local reporters. They've been doing this forever. And I was the only one that was recognized. And it was by Roger. And he came over. He's like, Melanie, oh, I'm so happy to meet you. I love your show. I love your show. He said, can I take a selfie with you? And I was like, sure. And it made me feel kind of really cool in front of all these reporters who are kind of like, who's she? I'm like, why? How come nobody recognizes me? Like, I'm on Channel 4 News every night. So I thought that was kind of funny. Yes, I have a fan. Yay, I have a fan. It was really cool. It was really cool. Thank you to Roger Still for making me feel important today, like a cupcake. Number 1 fan, Roger. Yeah, Roger gets the trophy. I'll send Roger a cupcake. He's in the chat. Oh, is Roger here? That was so cool, Roger. We really showed those people, didn't we? Or you did anyway. Oh, you are very welcome. And that was pretty cool. You know what that means? It means that people are watching. People are watching, and it's my show. And you know what's great about having your own shows? You can do whatever you want. You can talk about whatever you want. I felt like when I came home today, I'm like, all right, everybody's already done this. Like, nobody's going to want to talk about this with me again. Like, everyone's already done this today. Brittany. It's like Kevin Costner's girlfriend. Is that what, you know, he had me at Tin Cup. And I'm not afraid to say it. And by the way, I do play golf. Just putting that out there. I do play golf. I have actually won longest drive at a couple of golf outings in the women's division. And it's probably because there are not a lot of women at these golf outings that I go to. But I am going to make it a point to go to the court officer's golf outing as soon as that happens. So that is very funny. Very funny. All right. So let's see. Anybody? What do you got? Hit the like button. We got like 425 people in here. So, you know, hit the like button. That would be pretty cool. If you're not a subscriber, you know, hey, hit the subscribe button. It's free. And if you hit the little bell somewhere down there and you hit all notifications, you will be notified when I go live or upload a video. I go live most of the time because like I like to interact with my peeps. This is a very interactive channel. And you guys are the best because you're so nice to each other and you're so kind and very welcoming. So if you are in the chat for the first time, you know, introduce yourselves and everyone will be very happy to chat with you. Let's see. Molly's definitely not from New York, and I get that. A great Southern lawyer wouldn't do well in front of a New York jury. Yes. And vice versa. They want to hear somebody who sounds and acts like yes. And you know what? That's a great example because when I look at like the Murdoch lawyers, I'm like, what? Like that turns me off, you know? And it's, listen, I hate to say this, but it's really a good old boys club wherever you go. When I was a lawyer, when I first became a lawyer in the 90s, a long time ago, and I would walk into the courtroom in a suit, and I had my own firm that I started with a friend that I knew from junior high. And we built a really big law firm very quickly because we didn't want to work for other people anymore. And we were like, well, they're paying us nothing and we have no health insurance and let's just try it because, you know, why not? What's the worst that could happen? We go and we get other jobs, but we did really well. So I had a firm with my name on it from a very young age. And I would walk into the courthouse and invariably, it was always men, or I'd walk into a room to do deposition. And they were much older than I was. I was only in my late 20s. And they would say, you could set up in the corner, honey. As if I was assuming that I was the court reporter because I was a woman. And I remember I would look at them and I would say, you know, it's the 90s. Women are lawyers too. And I mean, that stuck with me because, and especially Suffolk, and I'm going to say it, Suffolk has always been a good old boys club. And I could see that. I could see the way that Hampton County, right, where Murdoch is and it was and may still be the good old boys club. The women lawyers are very outnumbered, especially women who go to court. Look, there's 80% or 90% of lawyers never see the inside of a courtroom. So it's a very small pond, especially from Suffolk County. And you see the same people every day. And look, some of my best friends are defense attorneys. So we do know each other. And there is another lawyer whose name I will not mention. And we're talking about the Maya case. So I'm also covering the Maya case. If you have not seen the documentary on Netflix, it's called Take Care of Maya. And there is a case that is on trial currently. It's a civil case that is going on in Florida. And there is a Florida lawyer who has a YouTube channel that many of you probably know. And it's very minimal coverage from him. And I think I know why. It's because if I was a practicing attorney right now, which I'm not, I'm a recovering lawyer, so I'm not currently handling cases, but if there was a big trial going on in my state, the chances are that I would either have a case against that same defendant or many cases against that same defendant, and or I know personally the lawyers that are involved in it. And so you have to be very careful. You can't get in there and start analyzing a trial where you know the lawyers, you're also suing that party, maybe in some other cases or more than one. So I can see why he specifically may not be covering that case as intensely. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to. He probably really, really wants to. And he's amazing. So that could be why. And that's just my example of how it's a small pond. And if I was practicing, there would be a lot of things I would not be able to cover because of my conflicts of suing that particular defendant or knowing the attorneys involved. And I wouldn't want to prejudice their case. So, let's see. Yep, I know. So yes, as going back to the point about the Southern lawyers, yes. So, I see those Southern lawyers and that wouldn't fly in a New York court, just like Michael Brown might not fly for you. You might not like him, but that doesn't mean he's not a great attorney. And that doesn't mean this is not going to be a really riveting trial to watch. And so sorry, you guys aren't going to be able to watch it because I don't think they're going to allow cameras in the courtrooms. The judge sustained his order that there will only be still photography for now. So go to Newsday for the photos. Pro tip, because I know Newsday is behind a paywall. But if you go to I think it's newsdaytv.com, you can, I think, avoid the paywall and see their video, and they will probably have video showing the still photographs of Rex Heuermann's haircut today and the way he looked in court today. And by now, Newsday, who was the pool photographer, has sold or disseminated those photos to most other media outlets. So that will you'll see it. You'll see what I saw firsthand today, and it was pretty cool. Let's see. Please don't talk about other live streamers in the chat. I don't think that's pretty cool. If I came to your house for dinner or your restaurant, I wouldn't come in and say, hey guys, why don't you go to this other restaurant down the street? That's not cool. All right. My cousin Vinny. Yeah. My cousin Vinny. That's a good one. Yep. Right. Oh, I love that. That was a great movie. That was a great movie. Still is a great movie. That definitely was a jailhouse, right? Right, Roger? I mean, and the way you could see it from the back, it was tight. That haircut was tight. Like somebody had a ruler before they went in there with that, whatever they used to cut, that razor thing. And that was crazy. It was. Yeah, it's like, what? Somebody cut your hair with a hammer, dude? All right. That's it. That's enough laughing for today, you guys. Thank you for keeping me on topic and for keeping me laughing. And I'm here for you. So, like this video, share it out if you like it, subscribe, whatever your pleasure, whatever you play. If you don't like it, you don't need to say anything rude or that you can't hear it or whatever. Another video. And that is pretty much all that we have. And unless I have any more questions, which I don't see, and I start everything, I think. I am going to cover the Maya case. I don't know when, but I want to cover the 4 witnesses that testified yesterday, the 2 doctors and the 2 lay witnesses. So if you guys are interested in the Maya trial, I will be following it very closely. Then you definitely want to hit the bell for all notifications because we are going to be covering that very, very closely. I find that case heartbreaking. Preach. Be gone with you good old boys. Like 50%. Look, there are some professions where it's still happening. And, it is what it is, I guess. Yeah, that's right. We got the best mods and host on the tube. Thank you. Moderators, I love you. You guys are the best. Yep, he is like Bruce Cutler. He does. He reminds me. Bruce Cutler represented John Gotti in many of his cases, or if not all of his cases. And he does kind of remind me of him, which, we're used to that here. The bada bing, bada boom. To us, that's very entertaining. And I think he's going to be great in court. And I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup. I don't know when it's going to happen, though, because there's a lot of discovery to go through, like they said. And it's, who knows when it could happen? Definitely 2024. I mean, no doubt about that. We're already almost into October, right? What's the date today? Yeah, I think we're almost, I don't know what day it is, you guys. Okay, for posterity, today is Wednesday, September 27th. So we're almost in October. There's no way this thing's getting tried before the end of the year. It's going to get pushed into next year. So that's what we're doing. Hearts for Roger still. Yay. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed my stream this morning. It was a lot of fun coming at you live. It was a little wonky, but you know what, as it is what it is. That's live TV for you folks. Thanks again to all my moderators, to all my subscribers, and to all my replay viewers. I see you. I'm listening. Leave your comments. I will respond to them. Just be respectful to each other, to my moderators, to no personal attacks on me, on each other, on the moderators, or on my guests. No guests tonight, just me. And I'll see you again real soon. All right. Peace out, everybody.